72% of registered Republicans believe DeSantis should have a great or a good deal of influence in the future direction of the GOP. 64% of the respondents said the same of Trump. Joining me now is Ron Nehring, former California Republican Party chair and former national spokesman for Ted Cruz when he ran for president in 2016. Ron, thanks for your time tonight. Appreciate it. So, is this open warfare now between Trump and DeSantis, or do you think that DeSantis is still deciding whether he's going to move forward with this?
Well, I think there's clearly been a Cold War between Ron DeSantis and former President Trump that has been simmering for some time now. In your opening, you went through some of the examples of that, but it's clearly warming up, and it's going to continue to warm up as we go forward, I imagine. Look, when I signed on board to be Senator Cruz's spokesman in 2016 and joined his campaign in 2015, I remember at that time all the really, really smart people on television were dead certain that Jeb Bush was going to be the Republican nominee in 2016, and anyone who said anything to the contrary was clearly not smart and clearly not informed. I've been in politics for 33 years. These races take on a life of their own. It's very difficult to just project whatever the situation is now and then project that into the future. There's a lot of potential points of failure for any potential candidate who would run, whether it's former President Trump or whether it's Ron DeSantis. So I suspect that Ron DeSantis will run. I think he'll be a serious contender. If former President Trump runs, he'll be a serious contender as well. But I think it's ultimately the voters who are going to make that decision. And sometimes they pull some surprises.
So you don't think it's possible that if and when Donald Trump announces that Ron DeSantis will say it's not worth it for me to get bloodied by Donald Trump?
I think there are two camps of potential Republican candidates right now. One camp is going to run regardless of whether former President Trump runs or not. And I don't have any particular insight at some of these candidates, but I suspect that Governor DeSantis will run regardless. I suspect Mike Pence, the former vice president, will run regardless. And I think there's probably 3, 4, 5 others who are going to run regardless. Then you have another group of candidates who really want to run, and they're laying the groundwork, but they're doing so quietly. They're not being so overt as former Governor DeSantis is. And I suspect that the hope among some of those candidates is they don't want to cross the former president. They will have done the math that they need the former president's either support or not his opposition in order to get the nomination.
Like your former boss Ted Cruz, maybe. Like maybe your former boss Ted Cruz.
Well, Senator Cruz has spoken in the past about how he would like to run at some point in the future, but he's been very clear that he's focused on these midterm elections. He's going around the country like many other high-profile Republican surrogates, helping those candidates for the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House.
Ron Nehring. Hey, thanks a lot, Ron, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Hope to have you back. Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.